Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Proventure Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Giancarlo Carangelo, joined with my friend and partner, Anthony Lodja.
Hey, Giancarlo.
All right, guys. I'm excited about this one. I've actually invited a powerhouse guest, Shawn Armorer, who's the founder of BDC Alchemy, and he has over 2 decades of experience in the automotive industry. But I won't spoil it too much, Shawn. So welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Welcome, Shawn.
Listen,
Seriously.
guys, thank you so much for inviting me here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And honestly, Giancarlo's been hyping me up about you.
Oh,
So
yeah?
I am so eager to get right into it. So Shawn, maybe give the viewers a little bit of a detail of your background, how you got here, what attracted you to the automotive industry.
Okay, well, first things first, I'm the owner and founder of BDC Alchemy, Inc. And essentially, I assist dealerships in architecting or restructuring the business development center.
Okay.
So business development center in our space basically is kind of like a glorified customer service department, whereas 60% or 70% of its core purpose is generating outbound revenue
Okay.
in a predictive format. So I'll give you an example. Let me ask you, Anthony, do you know when your next dentist appointment is? No, you don't. And
No,
it
I
doesn't
don't.
matter. Why? Because they're going to?
They're going to call me.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's BDC.
And they remind you.
You're developing business. Now, how do they know when to call you? Because for them, it's every 6 months. In the car space, let's call Toyota. We know that the manufacturer recommends to service the vehicle the way that it was built. So let's take a Toyota Corolla or a Toyota. Basically, every 6 months or 8,000 kilometers, there's a minimum service that's due.
Yeah.
So based on that, I synthesize processes and I coach people on outbound revenue generating activities as opposed to being passive. So we go out and generate revenue. It's been working pretty good, actually.
And this is just throughout Canada?
Well, right now, let's go back a little bit, okay? It all started when? So I actually started in the automotive space in 2002. It was an accident, like most people that you'll ask. We kind of just stumble our way into the car business. For me, excuse me, I graduated actually in fashion marketing.
Wow.
And when I came out of school, I couldn't find work in my field. Let's call it Shawn, 26, 27 years old.
Yeah.
So I was living on my own. I really needed work, obviously. So I reached out to my little brother, and he was actually working at Spinelli, one of the local dealerships.
Yes.
And I said, hey, Matt, listen, I need work. Are they looking for anyone? And he said, and we'll get into this later, but mindset and stuff. And he said, listen, yeah, I mean, I could get you in, but they're only looking for washers.
Wow.
And I said, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, it's not who I am. It's my circumstance. And currently my circumstance is, I have bills to pay, etc. So, so I went to do an interview. Funny story. We talk about it to this day because he became one of my mentors. The individual, the service manager, I'll never forget this. The service manager that did my interview, I showed up to the interview for a car washer position. I showed up in a suit and tie.
Oh, God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And he was sitting there and he was just kind of looking at me going, you do realize this is to wash cars, right? And I said, absolutely. And this is just to show you the level of commitment that I'm going to bring, that professionalism that I'm going to bring, because for you guys, it's just washing car. But to the person and the individual that works their butt off for that Corolla, this is their Porsche.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that you said, you showed up with a suit and tie, because it reminds me of something I heard, dress for the job you want and not the job you have.
Correct. Yeah, I love that.
You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I heard that once. I might have been on a podcast. And it comes into the mindset. and
Yeah,
everything, right?
100%. And you know what? It's not, this is what's so cool. I love that you said that because it's available to everyone.
Yeah.
It's this, what we're doing is not, it's not niche. It's available to everyone. It's just, you got to want it as bad as you want to breathe.
Oh, yeah.
That's what Eric Thomas says. So another version of that I grew up with that's very similar is, in order to be successful, one must portray an image of success.
Yeah.
And your image is not just how you dress.
It's how you think.
It's how you think. It's how you speak. It's your attitude.
Yeah.
Because when I was a washer, I was wet. I had shoes and jeans and I was dirty, but in my mind, I wasn't a washer, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the way I spoke to the clients, a lot of the times we say, the customer service department. Well, customer service is not a department. It's an attitude.
And it's everyone takes part.
Yeah,
in
man,
it.
and that's what got me here today, apparently.
Wow.
So,
Tell
yeah,
me, did you get this job on the spot?
I got the job on the spot. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I got the
Safe to
job
say.
on the spot. Yeah. So 2002, I learned my craft from the ground up. In my mind, I was like, okay, I'm just going to be here for 3 months. This is clearly not a career move to wash cars. And one thing led to another. And every time I was giving them my 2-week notice because of work ethic, integrity, and the attitude that I brought every day. Always in a good mood, always smiling, always can I help, never walked by a piece of paper, always picked it up. That whole mentality of that's not my job, that doesn't exist in my mind, and it never has. So you can't hide work ethic. So one thing led to another, and I went up the corporate ladder, as they call it, and I was at Spinelli for roughly about 10 years or 11 years. And within 7 years, I was the service manager for Lexus Point Claire, which was pretty cool. Like, I went up real quick.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I did every single job in my ascent.
Yeah, to get
On
there.
the way there.
Correct.
Yeah,
Which
and
is
did it
why today or later on, when I started to become, area manager, we could get into that. But later on in my career, I was overseeing 9 dealerships. Wow. I was part of a regional director team for the Dilari Group. So what happened is that I was able to talk to the washer. I was able, so now we're talking about emotional
because
intelligence.
you
We'll get into
relate.
it.
You relate to
I
everyone.
can relate to that. And because I could relate to that, they would relate to me.
Yeah.
As opposed to ruling with the iron fist. And that's very important. There's a difference between managers and leaders.
Yeah, 100%. And, it's interesting because, like, as a leader, you have that experience of a washer. You know what it's like to climb that corporate ladder and everything. So you can relate on a personal level versus an out hire, let's say an external hire who comes in with, service manager position right off the bat, can't really relate to their employees.
Correct. Well, I mean, and listen, not to be cynical, there's a need for everybody.
100%.
Right? In life, there's farmers and there's hunters.
Yeah.
And we need both. Right. But I'm a very, very, very big Simon Sinek follower or fan, whatever you want to call him. And I mean, I read his book back to front, all of his books, and he wrote something that just got etched in my brain. And he said, as leaders, you're not responsible for the results. You're responsible for the people responsible for the results. And managers do things right. Leaders do the right things. And if you could just sit down, absorb that message, and really think about it, look at yourself in the mirror and say that over and over, and think, am I a manager or am I really leading? It just changes your perspective.
Shawn, it feels like you've really spent a lot of time learning and like really working on yourself to get to this point.
Oh, man, that's such a great question. Yes, because when I was a junior manager, not a leader, when I was a junior manager, I made a lot of mistakes. And what happens, I'm not sure about how it works in your industry, which I'm pretty sure, but high performance, like, dude, I was at the top of my class.
Yeah.
Like, I could wash a car faster than anybody and do it perfectly, right? And then I went on to I did basically every job under the rooftop. So what happens is later on when I start to apply myself and I get a team, one of the mistakes that I made, and I don't know if anybody out there can relate to that, but one of the mistakes that I made as a junior manager is that I was managing by self-expectation.
Yes.
Because I was at the top and because I could dial a phone, like I could do 100 phone calls in like 2 hours, and I was really fast and I could get you on and off a phone within a minute. So when I became a manager and it took some people 4 minutes, 5 minutes, or maybe they were dialing 30 times in an hour, at that time, I couldn't really understand.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean it's hard? Yeah. Like, pick up the phone.
Exactly.
Right? So I made a lot of mistakes, unfortunately, and I learned from that. I lost a lot of good employees, not because, I was adversarial or anything like that, but just the ecosystem that I was creating wasn't conducive to sustainable career path. So a couple of things happened to me, and then I woke up, and then I okay, I'm doing this wrong, right? So it's the idea. If you really want to be successful, the idea is to be to constantly disrupt your current belief system.
Yeah, always challenge yourself.
Always challenge yourself. But how do you do that? Well, read books.
Yeah.
Read different types of literature and it's content consumption. Be very careful what you look at on Instagram. If you're always just doing this and it's just the cops pulling over and it's just like those stupid little videos, it becomes your world, right? Yeah. So you got to be very careful what you absorb. And I was really, really, really into like personal development. I wanted to get better. I also went through a lot of ups and downs in my personal life. Because at one point I was bankrupt. I lost everything. Wow. And I was in a dark place, and it's only when you're in a dark you see the light. So to get out of that, like I had to change my mindset. I had to change my view, because what you're currently, so this is one thing that I tell, you know, when I'm coaching my people, what you're currently doing is giving you what you currently have.
It's the extra that you need to be doing every single day.
Correct.
That's really the stuff that
Do you want to be 100% better at the end of the year, or do you want to be 365%
Exactly.
better? So if it's 365, let's slow down. Let's just work on 1% every day.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So Shawn, if you don't mind me, I don't know if it's too personal, but where was that switch, right? That point where you were at your low and you decided, hey, I'm doing BDC Alchemy. I'm going out on my own. I could do this.
There's two questions there. I could tell you what happened that I was reborn. I could give you that story.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So I'll give you that story, because everything, and I shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
I will answer any question you guys have. Why? Because this is exactly what got me to sitting at this table right now. And even just the way we met.
Yeah.
I'm not even in your industry. Yeah. And I was at Johnny's, and we were having a meal, and I guess you heard me talking. You're like, okay, who is this guy, right? But it's my failures and my downfalls that have kept me humble.
Yeah.
So for me, what really did it is at one point in my career, I think it was 2011, I was let go 9 days before Christmas. And so that was really hard. And then I felt I wasn't bringing home the bacon, for lack of a better term. So then 3 months later, I got separated from my wife, or my girl of 12 years. We had a kid. He was 3. And then I sent out, at that point, I was looking for work. So I was sent out roughly about 143 resumes. And I got 143 no's.
Wow.
So that'll humble you.
Yeah.
So at one point, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not as good as I thought. Like, that really humbled me, because I prior to that, you know, at the dealership, I was at the top.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, you're selling the house, no more picket fence, no more dog, no more cars, no more vacation, no more family. Everything's breaking up. There's no money coming in. I'm like, how did I get here?
Yeah. And how do you remain positive throughout all this?
You don't.
Yeah.
Because it feels like an avalanche when you're going through dark,
Bro,
right? Like it just keeps piling on.
It is
right?
beyond an avalanche, because, sorry, go ahead.
No, and it feels like overwhelming.
It's a domino effect.
Yeah.
Right. And then what happens is December 16th, I'll never forget it. December 16th, 2011, I was let go. I lost my job. Literally 5 months after that, I got separated and all of that. And literally 5 months after that, now all of a sudden I'm in an apartment in the basement with a letter on the door.
I remember that letter on the door story.
And I was just like, how the hell did this happen? Yeah. Bro, 3 months ago I had a house, and I was sleeping on the floor on a mattress with my 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't even afford a box spring. And he was just rubbing my head every night, because I was crying every night. Papa, it's going to be okay. Papa, it's going to be okay. And in my mind, I was just like, man, this is crazy. Like, what my world is just falling apart. And then to answer your question, while I was looking for work, this is a true story, actually. While I was looking for work, my job became looking for a job. And then what happened is I was just flipping around on Facebook, and then I came across this thing that said E.T., the hip hop preacher. I'm like, okay, here we go. It's going to be one of those, you know? And I was like, look, let me just click on it. It says hip hop. So what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Dude, that click changed my life.
You see?
Because there's this guy, Eric Thomas, who's a
course.
motivational speaker, but I knew him before TGIM, way before. We're talking about 9 years ago. Crazy story. And so I clicked on it, and it was the first speech he ever gave at Michigan State. And for anybody looking, you should actually, outside of looking at their podcast all the time, you should actually go and look at that one. And it was one of his first ones. And when I saw that video, bro, I cried harder than I've ever cried in my life. Because it was almost like his words just penetrated my soul through the screen. And it almost felt like he was talking to me. And I watched the video probably over and over, maybe like 30 times. And that deep, hard cry. And you know what the cry was? First of all, I think it was the release of the pain. Mm-hmm. Okay. But more importantly, I was disappointed in myself that I allowed myself to become a victim. Poor me. Yeah. Everybody's telling me no. Blah, 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 blah. But the way he spoke, I just woke up, and then that changed everything.
It's interesting you say that because, the victim mentality
Mm-hmm.
is a very bad place to stay stuck. And like a lot of people, something happens to them outside of their control, divorce, bankruptcy or something, and they stay stuck in that victim mentality for years.
Yeah.
And the fact that you became aware of it is huge because, what's that saying that I heard? Pain is mandatory, but suffering is optional.
Wow.
And I heard that. And suffering is optional. We all go through something, but you need to go through it, right? And it comes down to mindset because, you also said like, the lack of a better term, not able to bring home the bacon.
Yeah.
As a man, you know what I mean? It's hard to feel that way.
It's very hard.
It's hard to feel that way. So if you would have stayed stuck in that victim mentality, you wouldn't be sitting here today giving your story. Right?
Well, and that's so interesting. I mean, listen, like I was saying before, this is not reserved to anybody. Like, and ET says it. I'm sorry to quote this guy, but he literally saved me.
Yeah.
And he said, when you want it as bad as you want to breathe. And that's the kind of the first time I was exposed to this kind of influence, this kind of just warlike approach to life. And he was so right, dude. Listen, we all have the same 86,400 seconds in a day. All of us.
Very precise.
All of us. Yeah, you have to. This is what he's saying. You have to be precise.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared.
Let me ask you a question. Today, you must have went somewhere and you said, hey, how you doing? And the other person says, yeah, I'm fine. How are you? Yeah, I'm good, right? Did you really mean that?
Yeah. Sometimes
what would happen if someone said, hey, how are you? And you're like, you know what? I'm not too good today. Do you think that they would stop in their track and go, hey, let's talk? No. This is the problem. We've become detached as a society. And it's so interesting to me. And that's why I'm so intentional and deliberate and dare I say intense. Because I mean everything that I say. And even if I went to like a Walmart, I'm like, hey, how are you today? Oh, I'm not feeling so good, or whatever the reply might be. I will literally stop and be of service somehow, and say something to uplift them or give them a nugget or something, right?
And like, how was that? Like, where did you the shift in mindset going through that, and how did that happen?
How did you nourish that? Like, I get it. You listen to Eric Thomas. I love him too. He's absolutely amazing.
Well, it started off with him.
Yeah,
he was just a catalyst.
Yeah,
and then after that, I started doing, because we were talking about mindset before, and this is so important. Yeah, okay, cool. Mindset is important, but to a lot of people, okay, well, what does that mean, right? So you cannot have, how can I say? You cannot have the mindset that's required to do the work that we do, that 1% extra. You can't have that mindset if you don't understand the concept of what I teach anyway, but the concept of emotional deposits. So your system, the way I started to look at it in my mind is that I am a corporation. Shawn is a corporation, right? Shawn is like a movie. I'm the producer. I'm the director. I'm the screenwriter. I'm all of this business, right? And each one of those elements need to be fed. Because if all you do, like take your personal bank account, if all you do is just withdrawals, eventually you hit zero.
Yeah.
Well, the same for your soul, the same for what you put inside, the same for your energy. You have to protect your energy. You have to protect your time. Who you spend your time with is super, super important. So it's very much about doing what I call emotional deposits, like even just being here with you guys. I'm not in real estate, but just talking to you guys, it gives me a whole different perspective. Like I'm going to learn some stuff today from you guys, right? And if the byproduct is helping some of your people out there, because now we're talking about mindset and success, well, we all win.
Definitely.
I love it.
And so, like, what were your like challenge-wise transitioning from the automotive industry to what you do now? Did you find, apart from mindset, but like from a business perspective, what were the main challenges you faced? Because I remember you saying the story, you started this business during COVID.
Yeah.
I remember you saying like, I just started typing, and then I thought, hey, this could be a business.
Yeah. So this is great. So let me take it maybe 1 year prior to COVID. Yeah. Okay. And then I'll do it, because it's not just one, it's never just one thing. There's so many moving parts, right? So what happened is probably my second to last, because I worked for dealerships, like the largest dealerships in Montreal, for a total of 18 years. So I was perfecting my craft, not knowing that I was going to start a business, but I was perfecting my craft for like 18 years. So I think things really started going off the rails at the second to last place that I worked.
Okay.
And when I say off the rails, I don't mean negative. It was quite the opposite. You know, while everybody was celebrating, I'll just throw out a number. I didn't say names, but let's just say everybody's celebrating that they made $3 million in profit this year. Well, I was like kind of raising my hand in the background. And then I'll never forget the president would go, "Yeah, Shawn, what's going on?" I'm like, "Well, I get it. We made 3 million, but I'm more focused on the 2 that we lost."
Yeah.
So people don't like that.
No.
Now all of a sudden I'm a disruptor.
Yeah.
"Shawn, why do you always have to be that guy?" Like, what guy? Because I'm worried for your 2 million. That's what you pay me for, right?
Yeah.
So when my mentality started to develop with regards to I am happy, but I'm never satisfied. Never.
Sounds familiar.
Never, bro. Right? How do we do better? Right? So that's where that mindset started to come. And then it started to go, the universe always sends us the messages that we need to hear, whether we're prepared for it or not. So it started to go not bad, but it wasn't conducive to like that ecosystem wasn't, I didn't feel any more growth opportunities because I was like this go-getter and like, I'm not going to celebrate mediocrity. I'm not going to do it. So then I flipped to another spot and I started working, did really good, built another BDC department, made them 14 million.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just crazy. It went so well, but yet there were still problems. And I'm like, I could literally show you with data that we made 14 million. And then again, it was still a problem. So then what happens? Boom, COVID. So for the first time in my entire 18-year career, I get furloughed. I'm at home. So I'm like, okay, we're all at home.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you do with this? The entire world, literally.
Yeah.
So what happens now? And this to this day, I coach this to the managers because I do management coaching as well. And it was so funny because to this day, think about it. A global pandemic never happened in our lifetime. A global pandemic.
It was so surreal.
And you're trying to tell me not even food, not even water, not even medicine. The only thing that we can argue over is toilet paper.
That was insane.
Dude, toilet paper.
Was insane.
Not even food, toilet paper.
Yeah, that was insane.
So, I got a little joke that just means that we're full of shit, kind of thing.
There you go.
But so I couldn't subscribe to that. We were talking about mindset. What you watch and what you consume absolutely affects your mind. So I'm like, I cannot subscribe to this. So shut off the TV. And then I looked around. I'm like, okay, like I just want to express myself. I'm at home. Like, what else am I going to do? I washed the house 3-4 times. It was all fun the first 3 weeks, but then after that, you're like, okay,
what's going on?
Yeah, what's going on? What's next? So I looked around and I said, listen, what can I do? I always loved Joe Rogan. So I'm like, man, it would be so cool one day to be on a podcast. And I'm like, okay, well, how do you do that? I'm like, I have no idea. So I'm like, well, all I have right now is time. So I looked around and then I had to express myself because this is, I'm a workaholic. I love working. And so I looked around and I'm like, look, I'm not an influencer. I'm not a big YouTube guy. It takes me about 45 minutes just to do one Instagram post. Like I'm garbage at that stuff. However, I looked around and I said, what do I have? And there was this thing called LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I had been a part of it for 2 years, but I never really paid too much attention because I was doing super well, very successful in my field. But now I'm at home. So I just started posting best practices every single day. Every single day I was posting. And then one post became 2 posts. What did you post, Shawn? Whatever came, however I was inspired. Like because I'm in operations, what happens is I really have a fundamental expertise in operational efficiency. So I can get inspired by walking down the street and looking at a tree and seeing a leaf fall. And I'm like, okay, that looks like when someone gets fired. Or that could look like when your best employee leaves, what do you do? Well, now you have to count on all the other ones, and then you have to structure the trunk of the tree, and then there's the branch. Like, dude, I could literally make a connection between life and business. And so I just started posting about that, and then next thing I know, I started getting contracts and from the States.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I have a business, and now 95% of my business in the States, and I'm traveling constantly. And last year I did just under 90,000 kilometers. Servicing some of the biggest dealerships all over the States. I've been to Poland. Wow. I've been to Trinidad and Tobago, and now I'm doing conferences. I'm on stage right now talking in front of hundreds of people. It's just wild.
So Shawn, you're telling me all that happened because
I wash
you're
cars.
active.
Because I wash cars. Because I wash cars. This is what I'm trying to say. Where you are is the opportunity, bro.
Yeah. You know, I read a book once. It's called Money People Deal by the late Stefan Arnio, Winnipeg real estate investor. And, you know, he spoke about something about flipping burgers. And he said, your grandparents had a term for flipping burgers. They called it opportunity.
There we go.
You know what I mean?
Say that again. Hold on. Say that again.
I said
that's the clip
many,
right
and he
there.
says in the book, and I've
No, but say that again. I want to record that in my brain.
he says, and I quote, you know, he goes, flipping burgers is not beneath you. Your grandparents had a term for flipping burgers. They called it opportunity.
Oh my God.
So you say like, I washed cars.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're talking to us about the letter on the door of your apartment and everything, the bankruptcy. And from where you came from to where you are, started with, like you said, you washed cars. You saw the opportunity.
Yeah. I could tell you right now that my place right now doesn't have a letter on the door. Golden numbers.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that's all we have time for today, guys, you know, but Shawn, we're going to definitely do part 2 to this.
Absolutely.
So for anyone listening, okay, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Spotify.
Yeah. TikTok, sorry, not Twitter. They both have a T. Spotify, Apple Podcast.
Wherever you're listening, just click that subscribe button. It really does help us out.
And guys, tune in next week for some more with Shawn Armorer.
Thanks, man. Thank you, guys.